General His Excellency, Mr. Kofi Annan. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Presidents, and I think we have four of various kinds of the table. Mr. Secretary General, Mr. Prosecutor, it is indeed a great pleasure for me to join you today at this, the first review conference of the Assembly of States Parties to the Rome Statute of International Criminal Court. And if I may say a word to my successor, Secretary General Vance, it is wonderful to share this stage with you. This is the first time we've had the opportunity to do it, and I would want to congratulate you on your leadership, and it's wonderful to see you here leading this journey. I think this conference marks another important milestone on the long journey to ending impunity for the gravest of crimes. Along with many others, I have been part of this journey. I have had the great privilege of sharing it with thousands of activists and lawyers around the world, with committed colleagues of the United Nations and the ad hoc tribunals that preceded the court. And of course, with government representatives who have taken the momentous step of setting up this court. But there are millions more who have been with us every step of the way. When, as Secretary General, I opened the conference in Rome in 1998, where the court's statute was agreed, I appealed to the delegates to proceed as if the eyes of the victims of past crimes and of the potential victims of future ones are fixed firmly upon us. It is their cry. It is their cry for justice which must spur us on to our final destination. Our goal, as I also said in Rome, is a court that will put an end to a global culture of impunity. We are not yet there, but we must remember what prompted us to act. It began in the smoldering villages of Rwanda, their paths, fields, and even their churches strewn with corpses. And the next year, in the bombed out buildings in Boston and the horror of Srebrenica, where upwards of 8,000 defenseless men and boys were shot and dumped into pits. In both cases, the UN and the international community failed miserably to take decisive and forceful action to protect the victims. We did, however, make a belated effort through the ad hoc tribunals to bring the perpetrators to justice, an effort that found almost universal support of member states. But we can even go further back to Nuremberg in Tokyo, for the tribunals that punished war criminals of World War II. Shortly afterwards, in 1948, the creation of the International Criminal Court was foreseen in the provisions of the Genocide Convention. But it didn't happen. It didn't happen because the Cold War set in and the momentum was lost. The millions who perished in the liberation struggles in Africa and Asia, and in the wars of Central America and Cambodia, paid the price. They were denied justice, and worse, absence of justice emboldened the persecutors. Absence of justice emboldened the persecutors. we cannot falter again. So despite your full agenda and the difficult discussions ahead, you must not lose sight of the solemn pledge you made when the ICC was established, that the most serious crimes must not go unpunished. And if I speak of more recent events, Rwanda, Srebrenica, Timor-Leste, Afghanistan, Iraq, it is also to remind you that, for me, the quest for justice is not an abstract notion. It is a steely conviction forged from years of humanitarian diplomacy and peacemaking. The states parties to the Rome Statute have much to be proud of. More than 2/3 of the UN member states have signed or ratified the Rome Statute. Above all, we now have a permanent criminal court, and because of this, we have tipped the balance in favor of justice. In the face of war crimes, crimes against humanity and genocide, the default position of the international community is now accountability, not impunity. Where credible allegations of such crimes are made, it is up to those denying the need for international justice to make their case and to demonstrate that their own legal response is adequate. This is something I may add has yet to be done convincingly by the parties to the intensified conflict in Gaza and Sri Lanka last year. Making this progress has required you to overcome the obstruction of some powerful governments resolutely opposed to the International Criminal Court. And new challenges loom, including the debate, especially here, alive here in Africa, on the relationship between peace and justice. But while celebrating what has so far been achieved, we can't afford to be complacent. The balance can very easily tip the other way. The remarkable success of the creation of the court was the result of strong political will. Further progress will require vision, a strong sense of purpose, and even courage. I spoke of new challenges. Encouraged by a few African leaders, the African Union last year called on its member states not to cooperate with the ICC in enforcing the indictment issued against President Bashir of Sudan. But it is not Africa that is hostile to the court. When I meet Africans from all walks of life, they demand justice. Justice from their own courts, if possible, and from international courts if no credible alternative exists. The ICC does not supplant the authority of national courts. Rather, it is a court of last resort, governed by the principle of complementarity. I am proud as an African of our continent's contribution to the success of this great undertaking. African countries and their civil societies play an active and progressive role in the creation of the ICC. 30 of the continent's member states have signed on and have ratified the statute, the largest single regional bloc that has joined the court. I am proud too that in 4 of the 5 cases from Africa currently before the ICC, African leaders have either referred those cases to the court or actively cooperated with the investigations. In doing so, they seek the support of the international judicial mechanism in the face of their own limited judicial capacity. In the specific case of Kenya, where the prosecutor has for the first time, as we heard this morning, used his own authority to initiate investigations, he has undertaken this work with the cooperation of the Kenyan government. In all these cases, it is impunity, not the African countries that are targeted. It is impunity that is targeted, not the African countries. And finally, I am proud today that this first review conference is taking place in the heart of Africa. Africa wants this court. Africa needs this court. Africa should continue to support this court. Yes. We must acknowledge, however, that some people in Africa and elsewhere have genuine concern about our search, that our search for justice might obstruct the search for peace. They ask, how do we convince the leaders of warring parties to make peace if prison awaits them? Some allege that the prosecutor's work in Uganda and Darfur has delayed or hampered peace efforts. But Rwanda, Bosnia, Kosovo, Timor-Leste, these and other cases have taught me that justice is a partner, not an impediment to peace. I have learned, too, that impunity can contribute to renewed conflict, as it did in Syria. The ICC itself is founded on the principle, and I quote from the preamble of the Rome Statute, that the gravest of crimes threaten the peace, security, and well-being of the world. The parallel pursuit of justice and peace does present challenges, but these can be managed. The prosecutor's discretion in matters of time, wisely used, is important. So is the sensitivity of those mediating conflicts to the legal obligations arising from the Rome Statute. The choice between justice and peace is no longer an option. We must be ambitious enough to pursue both, and wise enough to recognize, respect, and protect the independence of justice. In other words, the least political input there is in the justice process, the better. Justice should follow its own course. Ladies and gentlemen, the future of international criminal jurisdiction is the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. There should be no doubt about it. The continued progress and success of this landmark document will depend on several factors. Its sustained march towards greater universality, the effectiveness of the court's decisions, the ability of states to exercise their primary responsibility under the statute to investigate, prosecute, and punish, as well as strong political will on the part of political leaders and civil society.